fall of 2013, Gary Temple Bodley began channeling a group of non-physical teachers known as Joshua. Soon thereafter, Joshua asked Gary to start writing. They have since produced 4 books and answered hundreds of questions in written form. In the spring of 2016, on the Law of Attraction cruise, Gary underwent hypnosis and Joshua spoke through him for the first time. Since that time, Gary has been practicing channeling Joshua verbally in live weekly calls with one-on-one students. These Joshua calls are now available to those of you joining us on the leading edge of thought. This is the expansion of the Law of Attraction. This is Joshua Live. We're thrilled you're here.
We are thrilled to be here.
Thrilled to have you.
Thrilled to have it.
I could feel you coming in that time. I could feel I guess the energy just rising, and I was just getting super excited. That was cool.
Are you getting goosebumps?
No, but I am now. I was just it was all on the inside, but now it's coming out. Anyway.
Goosebumps is that sign that you are perfectly aligned with everything that you want and who you really are. It is the indication of a highly beneficial belief. So the more often you feel goosebumps, the more often you're aligned. Of course, you can also look at numbers that repeat in a digital clock.
Yeah, what is that? Like 222, 333.
Are you noticing that more often, Wendy?
A lot, yes.
That's what happens when we start our one-on-one program.
Yeah.
You begin to be aware that it's not just you living this individual life in physical reality, that you are connected to all, that you are connected to us, to your inner self, to all your guides and supporters, to the grass, to the trees, to the leaves, to the air, to the other animals. You are all connected to it all. And the whole point of this is not to go it alone. You are completely in love, with love, supported, and you're in absolute 100% total communication if you allow it. You are starting to allow it now, so one of the first things that happens is that you will be given these impulses to look at a clock when the numbers align. And when you find this happening, it is your indication, your alert, your buzz to let you know that there is more going on here than you perceive, and that you are loved and supported by unseen forces, and you don't have to worry anymore. There's nothing to worry about. Everything is working out perfectly. How does that make you feel?
Awesome.
Excellent. Good. Well, we are excited to be here, and we can't wait to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Does anyone have anything to talk about?
Well, I do. My last answer got me really, really thinking. If I'm honest, I was almost disappointed, I think, was maybe the feeling I was thinking. And
resistance.
Resistance, right. Absolutely. Resistance. As a matter of fact, I've started to make a list of things I am resistant to. So I'm more aware to let it go in those areas. But I wanted to talk a little bit about accepting current conditions. What does that look like? I mean, how do I, for instance, if I have the migraine again or whatever, and I want to just accept it, do I just relax and release? And I'm a little confused on that.
What is a migraine?
A lot of tension and a resistance.
Well, why does it exist? What's the purpose of it?
Well, it's obviously alerting me to something that's not right. And it's interesting because I had migraines when I was young. And then during the years when I was raising my boys, the migraines went away. And they've come back in the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so it is alerting you to something that is wrong. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It's alerting you to the fact that you think something is wrong.
Oh.
Right? But nothing is wrong.
Yes.
Resistance is the idea that something outside of you, something that exists in the conditions, or even yourself, your idea of yourself or whatever, is wrong or bad, or that others are doing something wrong or bad, or that things should be different than they are, or that everything's not perfect as it is. So when we say accept the conditions as perfect, we mean that literally, because the conditions are always perfect. They're exactly perfect. In this moment, everything is perfect because everything is a complete 100% perfect match to your vibration. Now, if you want to change your vibration or change something in the conditions, you don't physically go out and change the conditions. You change your vibration, and your vibration is the sum total of your beliefs, feelings, emotions, approach to life, attitude, mood, those sort of things, right?
Right.
Thoughts you continually think, so the way you perceive life in general, the way you think things should be. Change those things, and the conditions outside of you alter to reflect your new vibration. So you have this way of looking at life right now, where you perceive some things to be good and some things to be wrong, and some things to be happy and some things to be sad, and some things to be confident in, and some things to be fearful of, right?
Right.
And you believe that you can control all these things so that you feel good. You do not like the feeling of negative emotion.
No.
And so you control the conditions so that hopefully you will not feel negative emotion. But negative emotion is simply there to alert you to these fears that you have, to these irrational fears that you have, to this way of dealing with life where you're trying to control everything anyway, and it just doesn't work. So you see something like a migraine. You think migraines are bad. If I could solve this migraine problem by changing the outer conditions, then that would work. So what do? I might take an aspirin. Does that work? No, it doesn't. I might go and do this one-on-one program with Joshua. Does that work? No, it doesn't. I might change my entire approach to life, realizing that everything is right, that I need to control nothing, that I can have faith in universal forces. Does that work? We'll see. We'll see if you can do that. That might work. So the symptom, which is the migraine, is an indication of some other resistance. And that other resistance is not understanding or believing. The other resistance is believing that things that exist in the present are not right. So what's not right with the present? Besides the migraines, what's wrong with the present conditions? What would you like to have to be different?
Well, I'd like to have. This is my challenge. What I'd like to have, I think, is also my challenge. I'd like to have something to do that I enjoy doing.
So what you feel now is that your life is not fulfilling.
Right.
Okay. So what does a fulfilling life look like?
A lot of doing, I guess, and that's
How about
exactly
a lot of being?
About a lot of what?
Being.
Being, yeah. See, I have a hard time being.
Yeah,
Yep.
but yep. if you could just be without having to do anything, if you could just be content, be happy, be fulfilled, be positive, be allowing, right? Then everything flows to you. You don't have to do anything. Because the doing, when you're not inspired to do something, because you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to eradicate a condition that you don't like, is done so from a lower emotional state of being. You feel uneasy, tense, unfulfilled. You're under that line. So there's a line of positive emotional state of being and a line of lower emotional state of being that's under that line. Whenever you're under that line, you receive urges. Urges are inspiration to act in a way that might make you feel better temporarily, but do not align with what you really want or who you really are. And so those urges cause you to go out and change the conditions. And that could be, for somebody, it could be doing drugs or having sex or eating snacks or drinking alcohol or watching TV or playing video games or whatever it is, right? And you end up doing a lot of things to get your emotional state from this low place to a better place. But it's all this temporary masking of what's really happening. When you start to decide that you want to feel good above everything else, the only thing that matters is how you feel, you will dip your toes into this higher emotional state of being for longer periods of time. And from that state, you receive this inspiration. Okay? Shall I call this friend? Shall I watch this on TV? Shall I read this book? Shall I go over and pet a horse? Shall I do something that seems fun but makes no sense whatsoever? You'll get these urges to go and do, not urges, but inspiration to go and do things like that. So inspiration comes from a higher emotional state of being, and urges come from a lower emotional state of being. Inspiration moves you towards what you truly want, and urges are just there to help you feel a little better. Okay. So we could say that you put your hand on a hot stove, you have an urge or a reflex to pull it off. You can't even really control it, can you? Put your hand on this hot stove without even thinking, it comes right off. And the idea is that you are protected from harm this way. You walk into a room, you see someone you don't like, you have this urge to leave the room. That sort of thing. The seeing someone you don't like drops you down into a lower emotional state of being, and then you get this urge, right? And the urge gets you out of the condition, but not necessarily solves the problem. So, to be fulfilled, start with this. Your number one goal in life for the next few months is to do whatever it takes to feel good.
Okay.
Have you ever placed feeling good above all else?
No.
Most people don't understand that feeling good is something they can do or achieve. They rather, get ahead in their career, do something that brings in money, things like that, right? But feeling good is the only thing that matters, because what is this? It's a feeling reality. All you're ever doing is feeling something. You're just feeling. You're not really doing anything. You're just feeling. Whatever it is you're doing, you feel about it in a certain way. So we say, alter your perspective to make everything feel good, no matter what it is. And the more often you feel good, the more often you'll be in this high emotional state of being where you're having fun, things look brighter, things are more enjoyable, people are nicer to you, everything starts going your way, and then you receive an inspiration to act, because you don't have to say, I want a fulfilling life. The universe knows you want a fulfilling life. The fulfilling life is your birthright. Joy is your birthright. Feeling good is your birthright. All you have to do is drop that steering wheel and let someone else drive for a while. All you have to do is get in the back seat, start looking around, and start finding reasons to feel good. How about that?
I like that analogy a lot.
Now, who's driving the car when you're in the back seat?
Oh, well.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. God is my co-pilot.
There you go. God's your pilot. Let God be the pilot.
Okay.
So we won't say God, we will say all that is. The whole system. Let the system do it for you. And instead of trying to paddle upstream because you think there's a waterfall behind you, just drop the paddle, let the boat turn around, and realize there's no waterfall. It's a nice, calm river, and there's a lot of fun and beautiful things to go and see down there. There's no reason to have a paddle when you're going downstream, because you don't need to go downstream any faster than the stream is. The stream will always be perfect for you.
Great. Yeah.
So what are you going to do next?
Me? I don't know.
Nothing.
Have you had any horse?
I think I might take a nap.
Take a nap. Pet a horse.
Yeah, I did pet a horse last week. Yes, I did on Friday. Several horses.
Yay.
Tell us about the horse adventure.
It was very cool, just connecting with them, and brought back a lot of memories. And I really like how around their nose and lips feel. It's super soft, and it was nice.
Did
I was scared. I was scared. I'll be honest. When I got out of the car, I had all these emotions. Like, what am I feeling? I was feeling fear. Like, oh, what if somebody yells at me? Oh, what if I'm not supposed to be here? Oh, all these. I have flip flops on. What if they say I have to have boots on? And all these things. And I just said, all right, I'm just gonna go pet some horses.
When you receive inspiration, which you receive all the time, fear will always come up. And the fear is minor, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether you wear flip-flops or not. So What if they say something about you? Okay, yeah. No big deal, right?
Yep.
When you push through that fear and you do what you're inspired to do and it all works out, then you feel exhilaration. Mm-hmm. Exhilaration is a feeling you feel when you push through fear, any fear. And so the more often you get used to doing something like this, doing something that was interesting to you, or something you're passionate about, or something that, you want to pull a little thread there and see where that leads. Mm-hmm. If you have that feeling, it'll always work out for your highest good. There's nothing to fear. But you tend to put up these little roadblocks and allow them to stop you from doing what you want to do. And this is just a habit, and it's very easy to override, because once you start getting this feeling of elation as you push past these fears, you will start to allow the joy factor or the benefit or the intensity of the thing you want to do rise above the intensity of any fear that you might have. And so you can start finding yourself doing more interesting things, more exciting things up that ladder, and simultaneously reducing the intensity of these irrational fears that mean nothing and are all false. You'll gain confidence. And when you gain confidence, now you'll start to do new things. Now new ideas will come to you. And that's the whole intention of this one-on-one program for you, is to feel good, bring on inspiration, and then to push through the fear and take the action that you're inspired to take. How exciting is that?
That's pretty exciting.
That is exciting. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So what's the next thing you're going to do? That sounds like fun. Next fun thing you could do. Are you going to actually ride a horse?
Yes, I would like to do that. And I asked about it at this place, and I have to have a sponsor that lives there. So I know a couple people, and I left a note for one person. And if that avenue doesn't work, I think I'll go out by where Steve lives. There's places I think that do trail rides and stuff.
Fantastic. Good. And then one thing will lead to another, and you'll talk to somebody along the way here.
Yeah.
And this may have nothing to do with horses.
That's right.
And something will come up. And they'll say, you know what? We need someone to clean out the stalls.
Yeah, do that.
That's a fantastic idea. It's not for me, but maybe for someone else.
Yeah. I actually didn't mind that when I had my horse. I didn't mind it at all.
Because it's part of the whole experience.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Absolutely. Excellent. Anything else?
Steve?
No, for you. He's asking you, Wendy.
Oh, for me? I know. No, I'm good. I did. You. My last answer, you said that I'm expecting an outcome, and you're right. I mean, obviously you're right. But everything I've always done was with some outcome intended. I mean, I to just do it for the sheer joy or sheer pleasure. I haven't done that in a long time. So
look at this one-on-one program with us. What is the outcome that you expect?
Well, the outcome that I really would like is to be happy.
Okay.
Be a happy person.
Let's say that that will not happen.
Okay.
How about would this interaction still be fun?
Oh, yeah.
And would this still mean something? And would this still help other people?
Yes.
So if nothing came of this, it would still be a worthwhile adventure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So think of it as question to question, talk to talk, day to day, just enjoying what you're doing in the moment without any outcome.
Okay.
And without having any attachment to outcome, whatever's supposed to happen will happen.
Okay.
Because if you put an outcome on something, then you have to judge it no matter what happens. Whatever outcome comes, you have to label it and judge it. Instead of just enjoying the moment as you're going along and allowing you to be. Because all you're doing is being in the moment. There is anything else to do except for being in the moment. So if you are being in the moment with us and you're thinking, I have to write a really good question because my goal is to be happy, and if I don't write the right questions, then I might not get to that goal. But if you just say, I have an interesting thought that popped into my head, let's just jot down a question and send it over to Joshua and just see what the hell they say without any intention. Then when it comes back, you don't have to read it and say, oh, I don't think this is moving me any closer to my goal. I think this question might not be a good answer, or might have not been a good question, or I might have to think of better questions, or they might have to have better answers, or blah, blah, blah. And we see the whole timeline of 6 months where you just see the one question after another question, the 1 week after another week.
Right.
You don't know where this is going. You have no idea what's happening down the line. You can't even possibly see it because your vibration is a lot lower now than it will be in 3 months, than it will be in 6 months.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Steve can tell you that when he started, his vibration was really high. When he was in the middle of it, his vibration seemed much higher than where he started. And so he started having this lot of inspiration during that time, a lot of confidence. And then another few months went by, and now he had the perspective of this whole 6 months, 100 questions. And from there, his vibration is so high that he can put it all into perspective. Kyla's right in the middle of it. So she's getting these, we said the other day, her head and her heart were above the line of vibration, but her feet are still maybe planted in the old approach to life. And so there's a little confusion in that point, and that's why we say don't make any big changes while you're in the middle of this, because things will look a lot different in 6 months than they do now. How about that?
And then
That's exciting.
And then even 6 months after that, and then 6 months after that. It just keeps getting better.
Nice.
So I have a question about what you just said about, or Wendy, did you have anything else? Sorry to.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. About what you just said about my head and my heart being above the line and my feet still being planted. I don't know. I feel like for the most part, I'm above the line. I guess maybe I can see what you're talking about when you say that my feet are still sort of below the line. But aren't I coming up near the end of the 6 months? I don't know when I started exactly, but you said something the other day in an answer about there would be even bigger changes. I feel like I've had so many huge changes. I don't know.
So imagine that from your perspective, that you've had this life through its ups and downs, and throughout your life, you had this perspective, and there's perception of reality. And then you come along, and you're told that reality is different than what you thought it was. Mm-hmm. And now your vibration increases from, let's say, 1 to 2. And so from that perspective, everything's different. It's completely 2 is twice as much as 1. It's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. But when we say you're going to go from 2 to 50, so this perspective of 2 seems like a lot, but wait till you get to the perspective of 50.
Right.
Right. So, and the perspective of 1,000 after that. And then you reemerge in a non-physical, and your perspective is 1,000,000.
Right. So am I still at a 2? I feel like I'm at least like a 10, maybe.
2.3, 2.4.
Well, that's exciting.
Steve is a 2.8. There are no levels. We're just trying to illustrate how perception works. So in the middle of this one-on-one program, and we don't really know how long it is. Some people it's 6 months, some people it's 6 years, some people it's 6 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
In the middle of this program, that you have this perspective now that is so much higher. And as you look back on your life, you see that, wow, how I used to operate in the old way, I can see all the confusion there and all the chaos and why things happened. And from this perspective, now it's, completely different thing.
Right.
And except then I go into and I see someone from the past, and then I feel a certain way about that person, and all of a sudden I'm right back to where I was before.
Yeah.
Where I know the difference between the two, but yet can't live the difference between the two.
Right.
So
that was. Oh.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I've gotten pretty good, I feel, at recognizing manifestation events when they're happening and sort of working through it in the moment. But that one for me, so Steve and Wendy, I saw this person from my past who at the time I defined it as a traumatic experience. And I was out with a guy and saw this person, and I just sort of freaked out internally and then ended up leaving just without talking to him, without looking at him. And yeah, so I knew that it had happened for me, but I still just sort of shut down in the moment.
Your feet are still on the other side of the line between the two approaches, between the old approach and the new approach. So, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter if you were able to deal with that in the moment, because who you really are is a pure positive being of love and acceptance. And if that was who you were being in the moment, you would not have cared. You may not have talked to him, but you wouldn't even bothered that he was there. In fact, if you saw him, you would think, wow, this was an important person in my past, and I appreciate what happened at that point, and here he is now, and I feel no emotion, so there's no manifestation event going on, which means there's no limiting beliefs tied to this thing that happened in the past, so all is right with the world. And then you would have carried on with your night. Now, being a 2, you say, okay, I see this, it freaks me out, I'm leaving because I'm changing the conditions, right? But I still can analyze this after the fact and forgive him as I've done, and realize that the forgiveness allows me to feel relief and to put it in perspective and to talk about my limiting beliefs so I can find proof that the fear that I had about this person is false. It's no longer valid. It's no longer part of my life. It's coming up for me now. For what reason? We'll think about that. I'm not sure what that is right now, but it's coming up for me. It's not a coincidence he was there at the same time. It was something I was fearing for a little while anyway. It was in the back of my mind, and here it happened. Right. So the person living in the old approach, the old Kyla, would have said, fuck this guy. Why is he here now? I'm not fucking living in this town anymore. This is bullshit. All this shit's happening to me, and it's not fair. Right?
Right.
So now now which way is a better way to deal with life. Certainly, you would have this resentment against this person, which would have this alter your vibration in such a way that you would have to deal with it at some point. And it would build and build and build and build and build until you got a migraine or something. Right?
Right.
And so now you're able to take this event and see that it's not wrong, see that it's perfect, see that there's no coincidences, see that it's for you and not to you, see all the benefits of it, and resolve this in such a way that your vibration just skyrockets to a whole new level.
Right.
Because in order for you to get where you want to go, you have to address this fear. You cannot have this fear if you want to get where you want to go. This fear can't be a part of your life.
Is the fear, after I got your answer, I thought, okay, so what's my fear? And the first thing that came to mind, the thought that I attracted, was men can hurt me. Is that, that's it? Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, the evidence that I came up with is, I mean, nobody can hurt me. I get to choose how I look at things. Right.
You only go through experiences that you need to go through.
Right.
That you no longer need this experience because you've already gone through it. That you are self-contained, that you create your own reality, that you are focused on what is wanted, that you do not think anything is wrong or bad, that you're not fighting against anything, that you are allowing what you want to come to you, and that you do not have to be worried about men. Right? And so that fear will always be there to some extent.
Right.
But you can reduce the intensity of it by proving it to yourself. Other women are not afraid of men. Other women live a whole life without fear of men. Other women can do this. It is possible. This is a thing, you know. It may have come up in my experience a couple times, but it's not a thing that I need to experience anymore.
Right.
I'm on to the next thing. And so that is one of the tools you use to do it. I have lots of men in my life who don't hurt me, who have not hurt me.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess what are some other tools? Because even like in talking about this, normally when I bring something up and then you say something, I feel relief. Like I still have a tightness in my chest about this. And if you would have asked me before I saw him, I would have said that I didn't have fear around him, you know, or I thought that I had dealt with it and moved past it, but clearly I haven't.
Well, that is something that you're going to have to find out. You're going to have to play with.
Okay.
And see what you can come up with that makes you feel better. But I mean, obviously you feel better now than you did when you were in the room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is a feeling of relief. And as you feel better and better and talk to yourself more and more, it'll dissipate.
Okay.
Yep.
So the other thing that I have going on is still just my fucking room. I can, but I haven't done much about it.
So you have a desire to organize your new apartment so that it's beautiful.
Yes.
And you don't do it because you have fear.
Right.
What is the fear?
I don't know, because I've done it for the entire apartment except for my bedroom. I guess my fears that I was inspired to write you a question about, but I didn't, is my limiting beliefs about my lack of like time management skills and organizational skills. I don't know. And I also just don't want to do things I don't want to do. And for some reason I feel like I don't want to do this, and I don't know why.
Okay, we will say it's something a little deeper than that.
Okay. But you won't tell me what. Is it that I feel like I don't deserve it?
No, you deserve it.
Okay. Right.
Certainly. Yeah.
Maybe it'll make it permanent for you. More solid. Like it's real.
Right. I don't know. I do feel like this place, everywhere I've lived, I mean, since I left my parents' house, like when I was 18, even this past time, everywhere I've lived, I've felt like it's temporary. You know, I move every year, or I guess in Denver, I was in the same place for 3 years. But this apartment, I'm subleasing it. So my lease is up at the end of November. So I guess there is a part of me that feels like it's temporary, just like all the other places.
Right. But, so, it's a thing about time. Okay. And you are still thinking that you can deal with things because it's only a short amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. So you can live this way because it's only a short amount of time. So there's no commitment to anything, right? So you don't want to commit to this place. You don't want to commit to keeping your room up. You don't want to commit to any one person. You don't want to commit to anything you don't want to have to do because you want to be able to escape. Right.
Okay.
And that makes perfect sense given, you know, what all you've gone through.
Right.
So, play with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Put everything you want in a big box and just leave it there. And if you need something, you can pull it out of the box, and if you don't need it, who cares? It's in a box.
I have a couple of those boxes. Oh, Lord.
So you can say, you can do two things. You can say, you're right, this is temporary, and during this time I'm not going to put up anything because I'm only going to be here until November, and I'm going to find a place that is more permanent. But have you been looking for a place that's more permanent?
Not really.
So you're not even committing to that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I guess not.
Okay. So at some point, you might want to think about committing and pushing.
I committed to this.
Yeah, because this is fun and easy.
Yeah. Right. So.
Who would want to commit to this?
Well, that's the only thing you should
That's at all.
commit to. You should only commit to fun and easy.
Yeah.
No, because anything could be fun and easy, though.
Right.
Right? Just a way of perspective. Yeah.
Huh.
So think about the commitment issue. Think about why you have a fear of commitment. It makes sense, but obviously it's limiting, and obviously it's false. Right? It's understandable, but it's still false.
Right.
It's irrational and understandable, but it's still false. It goes against who you really are, what you really want, and limits you from experiencing what you really want, and therefore it's false. So if you push through and just do it anyway, we imagine that you will feel better. How long would it take you to make that room absolutely gorgeous? Would it take a week of doing nothing else but that? You spent 40 hours. Could you do it?
I mean, probably. I just don't even know. I have a friend. My best friend is coming over today to my plan was this weekend to go through, get rid of stuff I don't need, have everything unpacked. And then when she got here, she was going to help me organize it. And this weekend, I have just done everything but that. So today I've been working on a little bit. I don't know. It just feels like I just don't even, I feel like I don't have any space to put anything.
So
yeah.
Just exactly like Wendy, you drove up to the stables and you worrying about your flip-flops or what people will think or any of this stuff.
Right.
Just do it and see what happens.
Okay.
That was one of the our favorite lines we ever wrote. Just do it. Sent that little inspiration to the guy who wrote that. Or just relax about it.
Yeah.
That's even a better t-shirt. Just relax.
Just relax.
Cares.
There we go.
Who cares? Big deal.
So you can relax and not do it, is what you're saying.
You can relax and not do it. The only thing that's causing you unease is this wanting to do it, the thinking you should do it, and then not relaxing about it.
Right.
So you either do it or you find a way to relax about it. But relaxing about it is probably a lot harder for you than doing it.
Right.
Because if you can't stay focused on relaxing about it, because you're not that type of person. Did you know that? That you're not easygoing? Has anyone mentioned that?
I didn't. No, I didn't know that.
Very few perfectionists are easygoing. As you can tell.
That's so funny. Am I I don't know. I've always described
Highly
myself.
wound and anal?
No way. Huh.
We laugh at the people we see who think they're easygoing, but they're actually tightly wound perfectionists.
Wow.
Okay, I just
Worry about what people think.
See,
if you were easygoing, you wouldn't care what people thought. That's how you can tell you're not easygoing. You'd be like, Lily's father had a saying, and it used to drive Lily crazy. And it was, "Oh, my aching back. What do I care? It means nothing. Nothing matters." And Lily's like a perfectionist, tightly wound, and not easygoing. So that drove her crazy.
I just want to add here that while you were talking to Kyla about all the stuff she had to do, and I have very similar things. My office is a disaster. I have a lot of projects in my garage I need to complete. And so I was listening very intently. And then when you said, just relax about it, I go, oh, that's so much easier. I'm just going to relax about not doing it. And I'm fine with that. So doesn't that mean I'm not tightly wound?
If you can literally be relaxed about it, where it doesn't scratch at you, where you don't feel this itch of it, where it's not popping in your head that I should be doing something. That word should, if that word comes up, you're not an easygoing person.
It's not.
If you want to be easygoing, release the word should, and then just replace it with, I don't care. It's okay.
It'll be there.
It'll all work out.
It'll be there.
It'll be there. That sort of thing.
Good.
Yeah, so either way you want to do it. You either do the thing that's itching at you and you'll push through whatever resistance it is that you're not doing it, or you relax about it. Those are your choices. Either way is fine. But if you get that little itch, that little nag, every time you look at it, you think, oh, it's still there. Every time you walk into the room and it's a complete disaster area, then you go, oh, who could live like this? If that's you, then that's that vibrational wobble. It just doesn't seem right, does it? But if you walk into it and go, oh, this is just a peaceful, casual place, I don't have to worry about it, it's fine the way it is, I don't care what other people think, then that's fine too. Lily used to spend 10 minutes making the bed every day until recently when we told her, through Gary, that it is not necessary to do it every day. You can just do it when people are coming over. But if people aren't going to come over, why do it? It just takes too much time out of your day. You'd rather be doing other things. You don't need to do this. And so she's relaxed about that, and now she has an extra 10 minutes in her life, and it doesn't bother her anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. Good. Steve, how are you?
I'm good. I'm on vacation.
Excellent. Do you feel a different vibration while you're on vacation?
I do. I don't have any of that stuff at home that would be nagging me that I should be doing.
Right, because you can't do it. That's another
can't.
nice thing, too. You can't do things that you should do if you're not in the same vicinity. It's very nice.
Very nice.
That's why everyone is so much happier when they're on vacation. That's why everyone needs to take many vacations. Like Steve.
I've been doing that. Yeah. All because of my 101 program. I would not be doing this if it wasn't for that.
And everything's worked out, hasn't it?
It has, amazingly.
Yeah. When most people think, oh, I can't do it because I have to get these things done, well, no, you don't. You can do it. And by doing it, you're increasing your vibration, which allows things to get done on their own without you.
You know, it is like magic.
It's magic.
Still don't know how it works.
Just the system. It just seems like magic because your perspective or your perception is just focused in a different spectrum. And when you change your spectrum, things appear to you. You know, sometimes you see a rainbow. Well, the rainbow is always there. It's just that sometimes you can't see it from your perspective. But when the conditions merge so that you come in vibrational range with that rainbow, it just seems to appear as if out of magic. But it was always there. All the things you want, all the manifestations that are ever going to happen that you desire just happen to be right there. You just can't quite see them yet. They're there, but you think they're wrong. They're there, but you miss them. They're there, but you take a left turn instead of a right turn. They're there, but the manifestation event that needs to get you where you can see the spectrum, you judge as wrong or bad. And you resist it. That's all it is. It's a very simple system. The fun part of this, though, is coming from this approach to life that was basically resistant in nature to this approach to life that's more allowing in nature, and to see how your perception changes from one to the other. That is fun. Isn't it fun, Kyla, to look back 3 or 6 months ago and to see how far you've come and how things are different and how much more fun you're having in life?
Oh my gosh, yes.
If you didn't have that old approach to life, you couldn't get the new approach to life, or the new approach to life wouldn't seem as interesting, right?
Right.
So it's fun to like go through a bunch of shit and then now realize that all that shit got you to hit this place, and then you can say, wow, this is a much better place, and this is a fun place, and I can see what all happened before, and now things are happening this way, and life is opening up, and I'm embracing so many new experiences that I could never have even imagined before. And you're only at it 2.
I know. I was just thinking, like, as much fun as I'm having right now, I cannot even imagine what it would be like 3 or 6 months from now. I just can't even. I feel like I'm almost maxed out on the fun factor, but.
Yeah. And those around you and the impact you'll have on the world, the impact you'll have on other people listening to this, the impact you'll have on other people reading your questions, the impact of who you're being as a human in this time of awakening, in this reality. You think it's just little old you going through your daily sort of things, embracing new experiences. Can you see that perspective is just a fraction higher than your previous perspective, and there's a universe more to come from it that you can't even see and may never see, but it's still going on?
Right.
That's what we're talking here. When these conversations are heard by millions of people one day, can you imagine the impact that you are having on this? And Wendy, what you are having, and Steve is having, and as this grows, even if it is, even if no one hears this, just the vibration that you 3 are bringing to the planet, to the mass consciousness, one who is aligned with what is wanted and who they really are, is more powerful than a million who are not. So imagine that energy that's going out into the mass consciousness of this planet.
Wow.
It is huge.
That's cool.
Huge. Sounds very presidential, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So I've been in the span of this call mostly, but I've thought about before giving Gary the go-ahead to put my questions so far up on the website, excluding the few that I've marked private. But I still have some hesitation about that.
We can't wait till you put all the questions on.
Oh,
Make
my
it a
God.
book, and then go and talk about question number 82.
That was definitely my favorite answer so far. I don't know. I almost emailed Gary when I got it and said that he could take it on the private folder, but it was hard enough for me to let Gary read that.
We'll let you in a little secret. There is no private folder.
Oh, shut up.
They're all in one folder. No one can see them, but they're all in one folder. Yeah. And one day, you will have them out for everyone to see, because you can be proud of these questions. And these questions aren't anything certainly to be ashamed of. And if you were ashamed of them, it's because you have this, persona that is not accurate. It's not who you really are. And if you can get embarrassed, well, then that's your persona, but it's not who you are. Because who you really are cannot be embarrassed. Right? Because you see no wrong. You have no judgment, and you are a pure positive being of love and acceptance, right? So if anyone were to say anything to you, you would say, that's them. It's not me. That's their issue, not my issue, right? So anything that goes on in your life is literally being experienced by millions of people like you. And everyone is having the same feeling. I should be ashamed of this, or I should be embarrassed by it, or I should be worried about it, or I should not allow other people to know because it's none of their business, right? But it's the same thing that other humans are going through. It is a human thing, right?
Right.
It's not just you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just a human thing. And by looking at it as the way we pointed out, where it is actually a fun thing to do, Right? It is not.
Yeah.
It is a thing that came in your life specifically so that you could embrace this aspect of your life that you want to embrace.
Right.
And without it, your life would be different. What you're going through now would be completely different.
Yeah.
Okay? So all of these things are all fine things. They're for you. They came up for you, you know. Mm-hmm. You look at Oprah, who was raped when she was a child. Here is a subject matter that many women would be embarrassed about, right? But it has nothing to do with them. It is nothing wrong that they went through it. They did nothing wrong. They were part of it. And she certainly had to have the courage to let that out there and to incur whatever negativity that might come from that. However, what she experienced was overwhelming love and support by other people. Great. So all of these things where you think are embarrassing or are personal or, are tribulations that you're going through, other people are going through in the same way, and there's nothing wrong with any of it. It's all part of being human.
Right.
And it's all for you. So whether it's something, it could be anything. And people have different versions of what they think, is an issue or not that they don't want to share with other people. Mm-hmm. But it's all part of life. Yeah. But anyway, of course, we will love it if you just put one question on there or two questions. And you can pick and choose and cherry, but just realize that everyone that you keep off of the website or out of a book are ones that could potentially help millions of people. Right? Imagine that. I'm going to take this question out because I'm a little embarrassed by it. And I don't want my mother to read it or my ex to read it, right? So I'm going to take this one out. But realize that your mother could not read it because she's not a vibrational match to what we're talking on here. Your ex could not read it. It would just not even, it would be out of his spectrum. He couldn't see it, right?
That's good to hear.
Unless he was vibrationally aligned with it.
Right.
Yep. So that's all you have to think about.
Okay.
How big of a deal is it? Not big of a deal. Does it reflect on you personally? Does it make you a better person or a worse person? Right? If someone finds out something about you that you don't want them to know, does it really make any difference to you? Of course not. You are not defined by what other people think of you. That has nothing to do with it.
Right.
You'll never know what they think of you. What they think of you doesn't matter because their vision of you, their perspective on you is clouded by so many other factors you can't even imagine. They are living a different reality than you are, completely different. When someone would think that you are wrong for reading the script for Craigslist, it's them. It's not you, right? It's them. It's not you. Right? It's what their fear is.
Right.
They would only say something because they have fear, and they were acting from a low emotional state of being to try and relieve their fear by making you wrong and them right. But they weren't right at all. They weren't wrong either. It was from their perspective. But you certainly weren't wrong. And what came of that was a couple instances of people thinking that you were wrong, that Gary was wrong, that we were wrong, whatever it was, and a lot of support and love.
Yeah.
Great support and love, and a whole new approach to podcasts and Joshua going forward.
Yeah.
And we will tell you right now that this information is on a very high leading edge, that there isn't really anything that can define what we're talking about. When you use the word law of attraction, that's like saying, the letter the is the English language.
Yeah.
That's how much more there is to this.
So how would you describe it? Because I've been
The teachings of Joshua is the only thing you can say.
Okay.
This is the mechanism of physical reality. This is how things work, and only the leading edge are going to be able to keep up with what we're saying. Now, there are general things that we say that are available to anyone who is interested in spirituality, awakening, self-help, that sort of thing. And we ourselves understand that the information that you are pulling forth from us is still very general, although it's leading edge. So you could say that there are teachers there teaching the cutting edge of law of attraction, and they are a 1, and we are right now a 2, and maybe we are moving to 2.1, 2.2, but infinity is infinity, and there is much more to learn. So think of it in that respect, that other people are rooted in this old approach to life and this old perception of reality, that there are now those awakening, especially younger people, to a newer idea of reality. Those being born right now are being born into this new idea of reality, and that Joshua is right now the leading edge of all of this. And there are others, and there will be others that are even more leading edge, but for this point in time, that Joshua and how it's being presented is more specific than what is out there. And so by being in a category with other people that are teaching approaches to life that are firmly rooted, teaching a awakening or a new idea of reality, but is still quite based in fear, we'll say, or firmly planted in the old approach to life, it doesn't really allow people to see how Joshua is different. And so by being separated from that on its own, it'll have this ability to expand greater and reach more people and be a thing of its own, rather than just one of a million people talking about law of attraction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So all of this worked out perfectly. You can't even not imagine. And that you sparked it all.
You're welcome. I'm kidding.
We appreciate you more than you can know. And so this is an interesting perspective here, because here we have Steve on the call who understands everything we're talking about here and how far advanced it is. We have Kyla on the call who is in the middle of it, who is enjoying what is happening here, but doesn't really see the expansive part of it. And we have Wendy on the call who's just starting out and is firmly rooted in the old approach to life, but can see that there are others who are making this transition to a new approach to life, and is willing to listen to what we have to say, and is excited and interested about what we're doing here. So we have 3 generations, if you will, of people at different stages. And so it's a fun thing to look at each one's perspective right now and know that each one will change as we go further.
You know what I find interesting on that, too, is, like, I'll listen to things Kyla's talking about, and I'll think, oh, that's no big deal. Why is she so worried? Or even Steve sometimes, rarely, but even Steve sometimes be like, why is he worried about that? Where I think it's just all the perspectives coming together is where the magic is at.
Well, also, it's why this interaction is so exciting for us and for everyone who listens to this is because it is easier to see what the resistance is in other people.
Yes.
Because those issues are very personal to them and intense in their life, while we can see that issue, but to someone else is not as intense, and therefore they get the message quicker.
Right.
If you ever watch Abraham with people in the hot seat, it's the audience who gets it rather than the person in the hot seat. They may get it later, but they're so attached to their issue that it's hard for them to be a vibrational match to the answer, right? Because they're focused on the problem, while the audience is focused on the answer, and for them it's easier to see it. So really, the benefit of forums like this and of Abraham seminars is to be in that audience and to listen to all the questions, because you get something for you that is meant for you just by being there. It's all orchestrated ahead of time. Yep. And so those who end up finding this recording will hear something that will resonate with them. They will understand it possibly easier than you will, even because they're not as attached to it, and it's more casual and easy for them. When you're in the hot seat in Abraham, you have the eyes of the whole audience on you. And so there's a lot of, wobble in your vibration, because there's a lot of fear mixed in there, and you're attached to your problem, and you've been thinking about this question for a long time, and you want to not make any mistakes, and you want to speak loudly, and you want to be clear, and you want everyone to be heard, and you want everyone to like you, and you want everyone to think you had a good question, and you want to be judged as a good person based on your question, and you want people to come up to you later and say what a good question that was. And so all that's going on, you can't hear the answer, or you have difficulty hearing the answer. In this situation, we are all free to ask what we want to ask and give our questions and answer. And we think it's just the three of you listening and us talking, and no one's in the room with you, and no one's judging you. And so you can ask anything, and then you can receive the answer a little bit clearer, and you can always go back and listen to this again. So it's a little bit easier in that situation too, but still there is some resistance around whatever you're asking, and so it takes a little time, if you're emotionally attached to the problem, to get the answer. Yep. But it is still fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. And we have time for one more question.
I just have a dumb one.
Excellent. The dumber the better. You know why dumb ones are so good?
Why?
Because they're so easy to relate to, because there's no attachment to the answer, because it's insignificant. It's not a big deal. And so the answer always is more profound. So the more dumb questions you can ask, the better, because you'll be so receptive to the question, because you don't have an attachment to what you think the answer should be. So
Okay.
when we answer that question, then you will be open to it. Instead of, if you ask a question, why do I have migraines? And we say, it's because you're resistant. You say, that's bullshit.
I'm not.
So Steve, please ask us your dumb question.
I have things have been going so well, right, that I have the expectation that things will continue to go well. And I notice that when I get specific expectations, that's when I guess worry is introduced into my vibration, because now I'm connected to the outcome a bit. And for example, this podcast, I knew that, I was going to be responsible for recording this, and I was going to need a good internet connection. And I manifested a good internet connection on Saturday. And then I felt like there was a lot of pressure to repeat that again. And so when I was, this just happens as I'm going down the road, right? I go, what exit should I get? I don't know which hotel I'm going to be going to. I don't know which hotel has the good internet connection, but I have faith I'll be guided, right? And so it just takes on it seems like greater importance. The first time I did it was much easier. This time I manifested it again, but it seemed like I was really working at it. And I go, okay, I know I can't do this in advance, but as I'm going down the road, I'm going to look to see what what inspires me. And I won't go into the details because it was just too much, but the way it worked out was perfect again, and I ended up with a good internet connection. But I continue to have, I know I'm going to have to be crossing the Canadian border here, and I have an expectation that that's going to go smoothly, even though I'm on somebody else's motorcycle, that I don't have, necessarily the registration is not in my name. I have an outstanding speeding ticket in Canada that I never paid. That's not going to come up. I mean, I just have all these, but I know through the teachings here that it's going to be fine. Just relax, right? So I guess like this podcast, what I told myself was, okay, if I land at a hotel that doesn't have a good internet connection, I'll either try to work something else out or it won't happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's perfect also. But that's tough for me because I feel like I'm responsible for Wendy and Kyla here. It's like, do you see what I'm kind of getting at?
You are on the right idea that no matter what happens, that's going to be the right thing. So if you can just think that way, no matter what happens, it's always going to be right. It's always for my highest good. I have an intention to find a hotel that has a high internet speed. I have an intention to be guided to that hotel. I have an intention to have fun and feel joy. This is my intention. Now, generally, those things will come through, as you see this happen all the time. You also are sort of playing with the universe and testing it and saying that everything's going well. I got the first hotel with a great internet connection. I should be able to get the next hotel with a great internet connection. But if I don't get that hotel, then that might mean something, right? Mm-hmm. It might mean that I can't have faith in the universe.
Right. It
might mean that things aren't really this good. Right? It might mean that I'm fooling myself by all this stuff.
Yeah.
And what we say is that you can expect everything to go your way because it will always go your way. You just may not perceive it to be going your way as it's happening. And by having this approach to everything, you can't help but feel good because you know that if you find a hotel room with a great internet connection, well, that's what you intended, and that's the outcome that you had hoped for. But if you don't, then for some reason, you weren't supposed to do that. You were there for some other reason. You needed to be there for another reason. You were guided away from the hotel because of some other reason to the hotel that worked out perfectly, but didn't have an internet connection for a reason. So if you feel negative emotion then, by getting to a hotel and realizing it doesn't have a good internet connection, then you can know that that is based on a limiting belief, and you can work to resolve that belief and so this manifestation event happen for you for some other purpose in the future. But as you see yourself now, more and more trusting the universe, trusting that things are working out for you, trusting that everything is perfect as it's happening, you are getting into a higher and higher vibration. You're getting into a better, more long-lasting, more consistent, higher emotional state of being, and you're receiving more guidance and acting on that guidance as you do it too. And things just are working out for you, right? So how long has this been now? It's been several years. Things are working out for you perfectly. Think of the experiences, and there's no reason to fear this ever stopping. You will encounter manifestation events from time to time, but those are for your growth. The rest of the time, you can put it in the proper perspective, and things just work out for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Now, you could also say, well, that's just a Pollyanna way of looking at life, right? Mm-hmm. That, okay, if something good happens, then that's the universe doing it all for you. But if something bad happens, well, you just look at it in a way that makes it look like it's a good thing. You just fool yourself into thinking it's a good thing. And, well, okay, great. Now all of a sudden this bad thing is a good thing. And so, again, it's Pollyanna all over again. But no, this bad thing shouldn't have happened. And we say, yes, the bad thing should have happened because it's not a bad thing. It's a thing that's designed to get you to another level so that you can live this higher expansive life that you were looking for, that you can get the manifestations that you want. Right. But either way, whether we are saying stuff just to make you feel good or we are saying stuff that perfectly aligns with the powers of the universe as we know them, it's much better than the old approach to life where you think things are wrong or bad and you try and fix them. And you get frustrated because you can't fix anything.
Right.
And then you get migraines.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Right. So
I guess it's ultimately, it's like, it's almost hard to believe that this is really true. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, but it's like too good to be true almost.
Well, it's just because it seems better than it was, right? But it's not too good to be true because it's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, but
you were meant to experience physical reality in a state of joy. You were able to come here and to do, have, and be anything you want because you create your own reality. Mm-hmm. Right? This is the design of the system. The design of the system wasn't you come here and struggle and hate life and then get old and die, right? You come here in this environment created for you and for your growth and expansion. And you can expand in joy, which means you can see these contrasting events that happen as a positive thing moving you forward to molding you in a way because you've requested it. You've birthed a desire. You've said, I want to experience this. And the universe says, well, the only way you can experience this is to change your vibration. The only way to change your vibration is you change your beliefs. The only way to change your beliefs is if we show you that your beliefs are limiting, and then you see that your beliefs are limiting, and then you make these changes in your belief system, and then now you have a new vibration, and you can now experience the reality that you create because you are creating this reality through your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, but
doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make perfect sense?
It makes perfect sense on a logical sense, on a logical basis.
And
knowing
in a physical sense, when you actually do these things, and you see the evidence played back in your reality every day of your life.
I know. Well, if I could meet somebody else who's living this, that would kind of make things easier.
What about Gary?
Too bad that you are on this island alone. You are on the Joy Island.
I was.
Doesn't that suck to be in this Joy Island? Maybe you could go back to Misery Island where there's tons of people and you can be around lots of other people. You're on.
Kyla, we're paddling, Kyla. Keep paddling.
You're on Paradise Island here.
Right.
Everything is wonderful and fun, but you want other people to be with you, and they are coming with you. They are coming with you, but no one's ever going to be at your level, and you're not going to be at anyone else's level.
Well, I think like Richard Branson must be nailing this shit, right?
There's a lot of people who understand this naturally, right? But even those people, imagine Gary's dog Rocky. Gary's dog Rocky understands or lives a life of bliss. It is the best life that any dog could ever have. Completely content all the time. But doesn't understand how reality works, right? And wouldn't it be better to have a life of bliss and understand how it works so that you can actually engage it and leverage it and do what you want to do? All we're doing here is teaching you how to be more like Rocky, who lives a life of bliss and happiness. But his experiences are limited to eating, cuddling, pooping, taking walks, that sort of thing, right? It's a wonderful life, but you came here to experience more things.
Okay.
Yep. Because you came here to expand. Rocky is expanding a little bit, but you're expanding a lot. And that expansion involves contrast. And there's a way to look at contrast that's empowering and a way to look at contrast that is limiting. So we're looking at contrast in an empowering way because you came here for the contrast. Because the contrast is going to test those limiting beliefs that you have.
Okay, well, I'm on a water slide. That's what I like to look at it. And I just have to enjoy the ride.
You're on a roller coaster, you're coming to the top of the roller coaster, and you can either want it to go down the hill or you can resist it. Right? And as you wanted to go faster and faster and faster, you have more fun. And if you wanted to go slower and slower and slower, well, you can't really control it. It's still going to go fast. You're just going to perceive it as a negative thing, and it's not going to be as fun until you reach the end, which is your transition, and you look back and go, oh, that actually was fun. What was I afraid of that whole time? Let me try this thing again. So this interaction has been beyond belief a joy for us. And we cannot wait until we talk to you wonderful people again. But remember, we're always talking to you. We're always available. We're always telling you what to do, where to go, so that you can get to where you want to go. And you may believe that this manner of communication is more valid than the thoughts you think in your head. But the thoughts you think in your head are, as long as you're in a positive emotional state of being, are thoughts that will move you towards what you want. It's only your little tiny fears that stop you from doing what you're thinking about doing. If you think about doing it, if that thought comes to your head, if that idea sounds exciting or interesting or something that seems beneficial, you can go ahead and do that. That is guidance coming from your inner self, your guides, people who love you, Joshua, everyone. So until we meet again, have a wonderful week and push through those fears and do what you want to do. We are Joshua. It's 2:22, and we're out.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Joshua Live. If you have a question you would like Joshua to answer on the show, send us a message on Facebook at www.facebook.com/teachingsofjoshua. As always, remember that you are loved more than you can imagine by more than you could ever count. We'll see you next time.